superhuman. And I know that the answers are inside. Yeah, I am a 21st century superhuman. Now is the time. Come on everyone, let's celebrate. We are the children of the sun. I can see you when I look into your eyes. We are the same, we are light, and we are one. Here now, hear my ancient prayer and sing along. We are awakening as one. We can make a difference. Yeah, we can be the change it takes to make the world a lot more fun. Well, if you're feeling kinda down and you need some inspiration to remember who you are, oh, now, child, please don't frown. You can choose a new vibration and these words can take you far. I am a 21st century superhuman.
Hello, welcome to another episode of Bridge to Paradise, a feature show. We switched it up on you. We usually do these on Friday, but in order to accommodate all these fine gentlemen here, we decided to do our feature show today. And for those of you watching in the U.S. who tried to tune in an hour ago, our clocks changed, and therefore our times have changed for our show time. So from now on, Friday is going to be at 3 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. So keep that in mind in the future. And Cary and I are really excited about this episode because we get to introduce more of our tribe to you guys, which if you keep up with the other shows on the network, you've met at least two of these people already quite often, but never on our shows. We haven't brought them on with us, and we're really excited to do so because we get to introduce you to our Peru crew, who, you know, is our favorite little new Earth community. And we'll just, you want to say hi, Cary, before we jump in?
I do. Hello, everybody. And we are excited to be here and doing kind of the new wave of technology coming on the planet. And I talk to people about this all the time. And when I do, they say, really, this is really happening? Or they say, oh yeah, I've heard of that, but I don't think it's very far yet. So I think this discussion tonight will be really practical and will help people see how they can start implementing new technology in their lives.
Absolutely.
Right now, today.
And it's going to be an eye-opener for those people who think these technologies are so far off into the future.
Yes.
We are in the future, people. The future is now. And so, Dave, let's bring Dave in real quick and introduce you. This is our Master and Commander, Chief Boots on the Ground in our Peru project. And he's been coming off a little adventure for the past, were you out in the jungle for 6 days this last time?
Hi, Cary, and a big pleasure to say hello again to Fernando Vossa, and we've got Paco, and I've not met Eduardo, so it's what a great show. Thanks. It's a pleasure to be with you. It's the first time for me to be on Bridges to Paradise. Thank you, both of you. Yes, we've been to the jungle, and we got water.
You missed the tsunami, though, I heard. You got out just in time.
Well, not for me, but the other people who left. We went on mission, expeditionary, and we saw the rain coming, and we chose for 4 to go back to the city, Tarapoto, and they chose to go back, and a guide was there in the jungle to offer them to go back. They went over the water, the river Chilcayo 14 times, not a problem. The last time they got over the last bridge, they were into safety, they were in the city, and a 6-meter by 200-yard wide tsunami bowled down and moved everything out the way. And they just got back in time for that, to see it, watch it.
Always got some Indiana Jones stories for us down there in the Amazon. I'm gonna make sure I have Cary with me on those trips since she's trained in the the survival. After listening to all your stories, I don't think I'll be trekking out there without a team with me that knows what to do. Okay, well,
Cammie, let me just toss in too. Dave and Fernando both are part of our group that is Global Leadership for Change. And we all have, what I think is really exciting, we all have really amazing projects that have been written up for humanitarian funding, and they've been submitted in different areas. But each of us in our own ways are just moving ahead. And I see we, as Global Leadership for Change, submitted probably 20 projects to several different global funding avenues. And I just see all of us just continuing to move ahead, even though that funding hasn't gone through. And it's by hook or by crook. You know, I mean, we may have very little, but we just keep moving this vision forward. And it's coming from our minds and our hearts, as we talk about all the time on 21st Century Superhuman Discussion. Thought creates. And so these thoughts that we have brought forth together as a tribe is in the creation process. And even without, you know, abundance coming in from the specific area we think it should be, we are still moving forward. And we do look forward to greater avenues coming in to support this work. And yet in this moment, I see everybody continuing to move forward and totally committed. And I love that. I just want to, you know, just say I honor each person here for what you're doing every day.
Absolutely. And not having it all come in like a tsunami is probably going to be a blessing in hindsight, because like Vossa has ended up in some pretty interesting communities since, you know, we expected things to start happening a little faster last year. And a lot of things have unfolded that probably wouldn't have unfolded if we were completely distracted trying to build our first ancient age, space age city in Peru. So, you know, it's, as we like to say on the Peru team, it's all Perufict, because it really, in hindsight, when we look back on everything, it's unfolding exactly as it should. Each stone that's appearing before us, while we'd love to jump 20 stones ahead, we really needed that one stone that just appeared to make everything, you know, more stable. So it's all great. And so with that, let me introduce one of our favorite tribal councilmen. I actually showed my aunt your Center for Mass Creation video today, Vossa, and she was just very, very impressed, as we all are, with you. And I can't wait to hear some of the updates on what's been going on with you, because it's been a couple months, I think, since I talked to you now. And you're working with Searle Magnetics and Tesla Motors, and God knows what else you've been managed to do since I talked to you. It seems like every time I talk to you, something exciting is going on. So how's it going?
Cary, Cammie, Dave, Paco, Edgar, everybody, we are living in the age of awakening. That's always my sign on, just to align the consciousness that this is the time that we had asked for to be here. Mm-hmm. Right now, in each of our own projects, we're looking for creative ways of becoming sustainable. And some of that may or may not include waiting for funding, waiting to get a piece of land, finding out what kind of configuration we're looking for. Right now, I'm back in Baja California after being in London for 1 month, exploring the different areas of why Britain, where did that power base come from, and how is it that the global funds that go through that place are going to help humanity, right? So today we're going to share a little bit about our personal configuration of becoming financially sustainable. We're going to be talking about 3D printing technology as one of the stepping stones to help people visualize their solutions, from something small that you can put on your desktop to a complete system to print an entire house. And from that, we're also going to talk about how do you scale your personal sustainability for you, your family, and your neighborhood, but not just physically, also emotionally and mentally and spiritual. I think that language is time for us to bring it in. What do you think?
I think you're in the perfect place to have that discussion. That is our sweet spot. We are constantly talking about, the mind, body, spirit, and heart and mind coherence, and how, really getting into that space and keeping, when you're in that space, aligned with love, aligned with limitless potentials, it's just living in magic all the time, and everything happens perfectly, and land is donated to, and the rent is paid, and things are just taken care of. So yeah, we're gonna have some fun here today with this. And
I always like to say Fernando is a brilliant eco-architect, but he's so much more than that. And I think what happens, we're so used to in the old culture saying we are this or we are that. And yet what's happening in this new paradigm is each of us has so many gifts and talents, and we're getting to bring them forth and express them and get to really live human genius in expressing who we truly are.
So we're just allowing ourselves to be conduits for what the universe is trying to manifest on this planet. That is what I love the most about our tribe, is that we all understand that we don't have to control anything. We don't have to try to dictate who needs to be where at what time or any of that stuff. So as long as we trust that we're each aligned with our soul intelligence and with our guidance, everything seems to just work out perfectly. I mean, we don't really have to even try very hard. The inspiration comes at the perfect time. And it's all in divine order. And so I wouldn't want to be working any other way. I love you guys.
We're bringing in this idea of what does it mean to be a holographic paradigm follower. We don't have a pyramid structure. We don't have a leader. We don't have a guidebook. We are following the idea that nature will provide, and the world is in perfect order for what we're doing. Before, I would say as little as 2 years ago, it was very difficult to talk about sustainability, an awakening, a restructuring of the planet, the financial system. And right now, that is happening, right? So we get to introduce ideas that there are people with this vocabulary. And it's no longer scary to go and share the spiritual part of what you're doing as well as the day-to-day logistics, right?
Absolutely. And that's the beauty of it, is when you look back 2 years ago and how it kind of felt like paddling upstream. Now it feels like we're just sort of floating down the lazy river every day. We just kind of put the thought out there, put the idea out there. We mastermind, we, call in our resources, which at this point is such a huge global community. It's literally like you just have to speak it out loud. Who has a connection with this? Who can fill in this gap? And it just shows up. And it's just a beautiful, amazing, wonderful thing. Every day, Cary and I just talk about how blessed we are to have been put in this position and drawn into this community of, leading edge way showers. It's fantastic. And so speaking of, Paco, met you, I'd say a year ago, but I think this is the first time you've ever been on a show with me, maybe on the show ever with our network. I'm not sure about that. But Paco is part of the 3D printer network, which is a big reason why a lot of us came together. Actually, it started off there and then bridged into, the Peru project and, and eventually to this Conscious Consumer Network television thing we're doing here now. And Paco's been there since the beginning. So I'm really happy to actually finally get to do a show with you and talk about what it is you're doing on the planet, because it's really, really, really fascinating stuff. And I think Fernando's going to help us translate if need be, but you're getting better at the English than I am at the Spanish, my friend, though I did understand everything you were saying earlier, which impressed me.
Hello, Cami. Hello, all people, our friends. Hello, Fernando, Cary, Cami, and Edgar. In Mexico, is releasing 2 years ago one project, and this project is projected of the realization of many things. And one thing is for one friend. The friend is Edgar. The Edgar Bolivar is one friend of the Lisa City. And this released one big project. And this project is released one big 3D printer for building many houses. And this idea is communication with me. And I talking with he and in these ideas is projected for biobuilding, and talking with Edgar for presentation for many friends, for example, Fernando, Vossa, and Cosme Espinosa, Cosme, and many people in Chihuahua state working in development of the conscience for many years ago. In this time, I released many projects. For example, in Anapra, Cosme Espinosa, many construction building and released many technologies implemented in the construction for the new citizens and the new cities for living. And in this project, I talking with Edgar for communication with Cary for release one information for all mediums, for many friends and other people interested in this project, communication with we and talking in these thematics. For example, Edgar is the inventor for the 3D printer in building of house, and it's necessary talking with many people. Please, Edgar, you please talk for the idea for the ladies and gentlemen for this public in this program.
Yes, I wanted to introduce Edgar. We actually didn't really get a chance to talk in the pre-show. So thank you for joining us, Edgar. I'm not even sure what your last name is, so you'll just have to tell the people a little bit about yourself. And if you're working with Paco, I know you've got some interesting stuff to say.
Hi, yes. My name is Edgar. Like you guys have been saying, my last name is Bolivar. And yeah, I've been working on this project for actually quite a long time now. I've been following this technology, 3D printing technology since it came out, basically. So I had a little presentation to kind of let you guys know what we're doing here. So bear with me. This is my first time using this software. So let me see if I can.
Let me jump in while you're setting that up, Edgar. Paco, isn't what one of the things you do is coordinate different people that are working together on different projects? Oh, there we go. Screen sharing.
I think he's muted. Yeah, I mean that's essentially what Paco has been. He's working on a New Earth community down in Mexico, but he does coordinate a lot of different conferences and sustainability conferences and stuff. I know that.
Nice. Go ahead, Edgar.
Yeah. So all right. So our project is called Open House, and like I said, it has to do with 3D printing technologies. I wanted to talk to you about a little bit about how this technology works. Essentially, it's you have a layer of material, then you put another layer of that same material on top of it. So by tracing all these patterns, at the end you're left with a solid product. So depending on what you use. Like you probably used to see, printers that use plastic. So our intentions are to use, the same technology essentially, but instead of plastic, we will be using concrete and other materials that are used to make houses. So I have a little video of how this technology works. I'm sure you guys have seen it, but just in case you haven't, I don't know if you're seeing this video right now. This is essentially how this technology works, and it'll explain a little better how it actually works. So this is just a small desktop printer, right? And it's using plastic. So right now it's just following the trace on the platform, and then what it's doing is just layering that plastic on top of each other. So, this technology has very fine movements, so you can control the resolution, and then leave a figure or a 3D figure, very with the texture very smooth and very intricate designs can be made. So as you can see, just finished printing a hand. So now just imagine you can use this technology for plastics, of course, and you can use it for ceramics. They haven't, where you can use metal, and this is what we're after. This technology is in Korea right now, and they're currently building houses using this technology. You probably haven't heard of this because they keep it they're very private because they don't want their technology to come out for some reason. So we're trying to, have access to this technology and bring it to the entire world.
Is Korea the only place where they're doing house-size 3D printing? Because I feel like I saw a video of someone doing that somewhere here in the U.S. as well, where they attached it to a crane and were printing. They were small houses, but they were making houses at the rate of like 2 per day or something like that.
Right. There's many people playing with this technology right now, but none of them, as far as I know, China and Korea are the only ones who are actually building entire structures.
Okay.
One of the things, just to ask you to explain a little more, one of the things I realized when I started understanding 3D printing is that we're so used to, I think you call it extrusion, but we're used to having to create a mold and then making things inside that mold. But what's so cool about 3D printing is you don't need the mold. You're basically doing this, basically the spitting out of the material over and over so that it lands in the right place directed by a computer. So it really takes a huge layer away from manufacturing things that used to make it more complex, right? Would you say that's correct?
Yes, that's exactly correct. Actually, with 3D printers today, you can basically build anything that you want. This technology provides you lets you create stuff that we weren't able to create before with the previous manufacturing processes that we had, like you were saying with molds. Right now with 3D printers, you can build functional parts for anything. The possibilities are really endless with this technology.
That is really exciting, and I think the idea of artificial limbs is so cool. When those used to cost, I don't know what, hundreds of thousands of dollars or whatever, and something can be manufactured to help someone real inexpensively, and houses still getting made out of concrete. Do you see us going beyond that as a building material?
Yeah, absolutely. I've been talking to a lot of people here recently, and they have provided with insight regarding the materials. Many different materials can be used actually to build a house, and there's actually some people in Europe, I believe, playing with this technology, but it's a little different. And they're using clay to build domes. So yeah,
they're using a 3D printer to build clay domes?
Yes, yeah.
Wow, that's really interesting. Well,
Cary, so discussing of learning from nature, the whole biomimicry approach, where we look at, for example, how insects like termites and bees, what is the exact formula of the protein and amino acids in their spit and saliva combined with earth, dirt, and honey, and pollens to create materials that are beyond concrete as far as strength and durability. And then there's the other side of energetic components to the material. For example, the orgonite formula, so we can create houses that also shield you from invasive energies like HAARP or your cell phone towers or scalar waves. So we can expand the selection of materials for a home to really be tailored to a person's lifestyle, belief system, and also amenities that right now buildings cannot have. How does that sound? It's including energetic sound tuning. Acoustic architecture is another range of healing technologies that can be applied with 3D printing.
That sounds Awesome, Fernando. Every time I've heard you talk about those things, I think, oh my God, where are these houses? Come on, we're ready. And houses that are tuned to your vibration. And I mean, how would you add those components you're talking about into 3D printing?
Well, I want to make sure Edgar completes his open house presentation so we can show some other illustrations.
Yeah, we can
answer
jump
your question.
Okay.
Yeah, and just to add a little bit on that point, I wanted to say that you can have it, if we manage to have this technology in our hands, just imagine we can send any file to the printer, and the printer will print you basically your dream house, or any type of house that you would like, in a day or even less. So yeah, continuing on, I wanted to show you guys another little video of how these printers actually work, with concrete. So as you can see, these guys are building a wall out of concrete, out of nothing but concrete. Every couple of layers, they do introduce a small, a reinforcement made out of rebar or something similar. You can see that here. So they introduce that reinforcement to the wall. And then the computer follows the pattern over and over again, and then it just deposits a layer of concrete or a concrete mix on top of each other, and that's how come you get a wall built.
For those of us in the industrial design architecture, this is like construction porn to me.
I mean, it feels like we're on the beginning. We're at the beginning stages of watching, the Back to the Future. It's like the replicator technology, and we've been calling this replicator technology forever, but as we're seeing these different materials get brought into it, and then we can envision how, just literally the whole world, a whole city can be constructed like this, and it's just really, it's kind of surreal.
And we want to share with the audience that the move is not necessarily to replace all the incredible construction professionals. It is to optimize technology for sustainability. This is also going to employ a whole new workforce with a whole new set of skills. It's going to open up design and construction in a way that we can do it in the middle of nowhere. We can be just as sophisticated what we do in the middle of the desert as we do in a city. So we don't, the idea, like any other disruptive technology, is not to say we're going to replace the industry. We're going to augment it in ways that'll take us to new directions.
Well, and I believe a lot of people would just love to maybe not have to do construction and be able to just do what they, their human design, feels passionate about doing. And we have technologies that can sort of take up for the things that we're feeling, we just have to do them because somebody has to do them. I think it's going to free the planet up a lot and just change the face of society and everything else.
This is it's going to be like desktop publishing. Some of you might be too young to remember when we started having what's called what you see is what you get, WYSIWYG printing with using PDF. And this was when the Apple and Next computer, it opened up publishing to everybody. Currently we have monopolies that control the construction industry. We have the cartels and the unions that have completely locked out the creative element to construction. And the work that Edgar is doing is going to open up the field, and we're going to see ideas that you thought were never before possible.
So Edgar, is this did you build this structure?
No, this is actually in China. Actually, like I was saying, a couple of countries in the world have access to this technology, and China is another one of them. And these are their final products. These are their houses that they're building with this technology. So as you can see, I mean, it's a fairly decent sized house, and it's awesome for someone who right now currently doesn't have a roof over their head. You can make their houses. These guys are making, I think, 10 houses a day. So
wow.
Just imagine. Yeah.
How do you put windows in it, or is it just you just use the openings that are there?
Yeah, I mean the machine traces every single line. I mean, what happens is that when you have a 3D model of, let's say, a house, this house, for example, the computer cuts the design into layers. So it feeds each layer separately to the machine. So it just follows the pattern, right? So when it comes time to put a window on there, what it does is simply stops pouring concrete in that space where the window is going to be allocated. So I mean, it's all very intricate, but at the same time, it's not really intricate anymore because this technology has been around for years already. So it's about time that we jump to it.
How are you guys working on implementing this? Are you in Mexico, Edgar? Are you?
Oh yeah, I'm actually right now I live in the U.S. I'm in New Mexico right now.
Okay.
In the border with Texas. And but we're planning to take this, the building plans and everything to Mexico and start building it there, and then just assemble an assembly line for these printers, and then just send them all over the world where they're needed the most.
So
go ahead, Cam.
You're actually trying to distribute the printers and not actually, do the construction end of it, or are you on both ends?
We would like to do both ends, of course. Since we're going to be building the printers, might as well just put them to work. But of course, we'll be able to sell the entire printers and even parts of them to anyone who might be interested in them. So
how far along are you, or what else are there certain things you still have to master or figure out in order to make it work?
No, right now we're putting a team together, and we're going to be getting to work here pretty soon on it. Right now we're just trying to get a little bit extra funds to make this happen, and once we accomplish that, we'll be on our way to make this printer.
And I wanted to share that right now on this show is the first time the latest addition to this team is coming together. We are talking about not only just doing the printing of the house, but also the furniture inside. So we would have different attachments, nozzles that can be switched. And also be able to have machines working inside the house while the big machine is printing. There are smaller machines doing detail work. So we can integrate conduit, plumbing, and also more advanced technologies like building the airflow ducts into the wall, being able to channel and filter water inside the walls, which previously would take a lot of construction work to do. So we would see 2 or 3 robots working at once in a more advanced configuration.
Yeah, what brings me to the next slide. We will be integrating technologies that haven't been tried before in a printer, which is going to be a robotic arm. So with this robotic arm, what we'll be able to do is I'll show you another video here of another example of the stuff that we can make. This is about 3 minutes long, so I won't show you the entire video just so you get an idea of the stuff that we can integrate with this robotic arm. So in the past, you have probably just seen the fixed extruders in 3D printers, just a solid extruder that's just going across like that. So by having a robotic arm, the possibilities are even greater now. Because now you can even print in an angle, you can use different materials, and you can create, not only your walls, but we were talking about the possibilities of even using stuff like conductive paint. Just imagine having the circuits of your house, electrical circuits, being printed or painted on top of your walls and then insulated afterwards and stuff like that. I mean, just think about the possibilities that a hand like this can give you.
And imagine
what would be the sound of my mind being blown right now.
No, I was about to do the same thing, Fernando. I'm thinking, like, if we were able to accomplish this in just a few years of getting access to 3D printers, what is a few years from now going to look like?
And you guys, what I want to jump in and say, I don't want to interrupt you. Shall I wait a minute with my thought? This is amazing.
You can ask your question. Yeah, of course.
Well, what I was going to say is one of the things that we talk about in this cultural change that we're aiming for is that all of us will have more time to play, to be creative, to be the joyful beings we are. So when you see somebody, well, you're taking away the job from the guy with the hammer and the nails, right? But maybe he can go out and play baseball or, go snowboarding or,
Well, let's make it a little bit more practical than that comment.
Please.
we are extending the palette of construction choices. So individuals can start implementing their own ideas. Right now, if you work in the construction industry, it's kind of like the studio system in Hollywood. You have specific roles that are broken up into specific tasks, and you're trained for that one thing to do. What this does is opens up your own ideas of how a home should be built. Because we're saying that any construction person that's been in the business has new ideas. They're just not in a place to be able to implement them. Because right now, the way we do electrical, the way we do plumbing, the way we assemble, that whole system is designed to make money, to use up more materials, to go slow, to take up more people. And Edgar, stop me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, well, I kind of wanted to bring up that point, for the end, but it's okay. We'll bring it up now. Well, of course, our technology will be open source. That's the first and foremost thing. It'll for whoever that owns a construction business right now and wants to bring up their technology or their level a little bit up a little bit. They can have access to this technology as quick as they want to. That I think that for like you guys were saying that all these people will be out of business. I really doubt it because, like I said, we're gonna release every single aspect of our technology to the public, and so they will have the capabilities of building these machines themselves. So really, if they want to expand their business and come up with with a better solution for their business, they will be able to.
We have one of the guys who's in our Global Leadership for Change group named Michael Upstone, who we say he can see around corners, but he's put together some really great ideas and systems for moving together in a way that supports all of us in new ways of operating. And one of the things he suggests is that we use open source, but then if a company is going to take it and use it, then they're paying a fee to the developer of it. And we can get you together with him and kind of visit about those ideas at some point if you want.
Absolutely. I mean,
they're real neat. Yeah, go ahead.
I've told these guys that really, I'm not really after money. I just want to get this idea off the ground. And
none of us are either. We believe in open source and we see ourselves in a transitional culture anyway. But I know he's put out some really interesting ideas on that and he sees us going beyond money as well. I mean, ultimately, we hope that we'll all be there, but we've probably got some phases to go through before we get there. So it might be something useful. We'll share it with you.
All right. Yeah, absolutely. I love to meet him.
Yeah.
So anyways, let's, I wanted to share this other little thing that they have out there right now. They're printing metal with a robotic arm as well. And it's basically the same concept. It's just with metal instead of clay. So, this will allow us the opportunity to not only just print structures out of concrete entirely, but also printing if needed be, we can print the support material as well, with metal and give it that flexibility that most buildings need and stuff like that. So, I mean, our idea is to integrate all these different extruders into one single arm. So the arm will be capable of doing the entire work, from scratch. You will build the house from, bottom to the top, the arm will take care of everything. That's the plan.
So some of the materials when they're coming through the arm need to be molten, right? They need to be hot, and some are not. I mean, concrete is probably not hot, but metal is. Is that right?
Well, in this case, this is just a welder, just a MIG welder, they call them. And what's happening is the metal, it's being introduced through inside of the arm, and then once it reaches the end of the arm, or it reaches the end of the tip, it actually transmits an electrical current which melts fuses the little your rod and your printing material. I mean, the material that's being printed. So it fuses it via electrical conductivity. So that's what's happening right there. And then this is our proposal. This is what the machine is going to look like in the end. I don't know if you can see it very well, but This is the robotic arms we've designed. And like I said, all of these are they're going to be very different from what you see right now, but they're going to be a lot bulkier because they're going to have all the different tips and extruders and stuff like that. So, this is, we're going to have two arms working simultaneously. And yeah, this thing is going to measure 40 feet, at least 40 feet by 40 feet by at least 30 feet height. So it's going to be a massive, massive thing. So
that's really amazing. So you said you're in the funding process at this point, right? And you're gaining some momentum there.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's what we're hoping for right now. Yeah.
Okay. So, and I mean, we have a lot of people we can share this with and also submit proposals to, or help you guys submit proposals to, because we're constantly seeing evidence that we're literally on the wake of this wave of funding sort of crashing over all of us. Now we're closer than we've ever been. There are some smaller things getting funded right now, and they're just trying to clean up some aspects of the banking system and the cabal before they start just sort of letting the floodgates open. But I can see something like this being sort of pushed up to the top of the list because it will help solve so many issues that we're facing in sort of replicating the projects that we're trying to replicate around the planet. This is like, there's so many different angles we could attack this from as far as how this can be a benefit to humanity. It's mind-blowing. It's going to take some contemplation for me to even wrap my head around it. A 40 by 40 3D printer is like, I mean,
how exciting to see these videos you put together. It is like it's absolutely awesome. How fun and exciting. And because we've all been talking about 3D printing for a long time and having ideas of how it works and seeing little bits and pieces, but this was fantastic. You've done a really incredible job of putting it together.
Well, thank you very much. I'm glad you guys liked my idea, and I hope that we all move forward, in this, and let's see what we can make. And this is the last point that I want to bring out. I wanted to, since this is a disruptive technology, I wanted to, just let you guys know that we're going to be releasing, every single detail of this machine to the public. So,
what do you mean when you say it's a disruptive technology?
Well, like you guys were saying, this is going to be,
it's a matrix buster.
It's a game changer.
This is going to be taking, the jobs out of people, of course, eventually.
Well, but it's also, like Fernando said, it's going to be giving people the space that they need to actually sit and think about what they really want to be doing, and having the tools to actually do things that they never even knew they wanted to be doing. Like, it's just, the trickle down effect is going to be so much fun to watch in this new paradigm.
Oh, yeah.
The average consumer has no clue that this technology exists,
yes.
And they don't know that people like us exist. They don't even know how to be inspired because they don't know what they don't know.
Yes. And there will be those who get it and maybe some who don't. But at the same time, I think we talk about this a lot. And one day I was asking this kid who was fixing a little chip in my windshield. And I said, well, what would you do if you didn't have to go to work anymore? And he said, well, I don't know. I guess I would work around the house. And I said, well, what would you do when that was done? And he said, well, I don't know. Maybe I would go hunting. And, I mean, we're not even used to thinking that we can live lives that are just based on joyfulness and creativity. Like Fernando, you said that painting behind your head is one of your paintings. I mean, you're just this man of so many talents. But to free
people forget that I'm still an engineer. I have a mechanical engineering background and a electrical engineering and industrial design. But I'm an artist now. We're taking it to a new level. And what you're saying is a very important point, because when we know what we're going to do, when we have free energy, when we have healing technology, when we have houses that actually take care of you, when we figure that out, we're going to demand it. We're going to demand it from our banks, from our construction companies, from our governments, because it'll be out of the box, right?
Yeah. I mean, I've said this about you 1,000 times before, but one of the things I love about your home designs and your architecture in general is, and also all the biomimicry and the things that you implement into those designs that just make harmonizing to your environment so easy, is that those of us, there's probably at least 1 million of us that have fully stepped out of the matrix and are sort of in this path where we're sort of building the new earth. But if those of us that are doing this can do this in these very oppressive environments and these very oppressive energies, and if we're able to do what we're able to do, and we're watching people accomplish some amazing feats under these conditions, what the hell is going to happen when we get into conditions that are completely all about supporting our thriving? Like,
well, we're going to, and Paco just recently brought Edgar to the table, because that is one of the tools that I asked Source and Spirit to please bring a 3D printing capability to what we're doing. What's going to happen is, first, we're going to have a polarization of society. There will be the old guard, the old energy that does not want to move, and they'll stick their heels in and bitch and moan about all the things that we're doing. But there's going to be a group of people that want to break away and show the world what can be done when you're free. When you have freedom of creative expression, when you can actually have a house that creates food, clean water, and energy for you, as you're saying, that is going to be a huge turnaround, because people will no longer support the old ways. But we had the same situation when the steam engine came on board, when the internal combustion came on board. We had the old conservatives that don't want to do it, and we always have the progressives that are ready to do it. What we want to do is just make it an open invitation. We're not blocking out construction companies. We're inviting them to grow up, to get it together and really support humanity. We're inviting the banks that do home mortgages to contemplate sustainability. And Edgar is right now in New Mexico, which was the birthplace of the Earthship. Michael Reynolds right there in Taos. Can you imagine combining Earthship know-how with 3D printing? Right, Edgar? Wouldn't that be a game changer?
Absolutely, absolutely. And just wanted to add to that point, this is right now what you guys are seeing, and this is just like the first computer, when the computer occupied, rooms, entire rooms, right now, if you can see in front of you what you have, it's very compact now, and this is just the start of it, this is just the very tip of the iceberg. And like I said, also being this being an open source movement, what it also will allow this technology is going to be, for example, like let's say if we just start messing with this technology right now, and then we come up across this problem that maybe someone else has, and maybe they're working on the same problem, and it doesn't make sense for both of us to be working on the same problem, in different parts of the world. So maybe if that guy comes up with the answer before we do, maybe he'll be able to release it, and then that problem will be solved. So this is the entire base of the open source movement. Just to help the technology develop way faster than it could just by one team, one group, working on it. So
it's definitely about the cooperation model being the new flow that the universe is supporting, but it's also about circumventing the old industries that are trying to suppress these technologies. I mean, the concrete mafia has been suppressing all kinds of new, types of concrete construction. Like Cary's got a friend that has this brilliant exoskeleton design, but he's still in that old paradigm. I have to patent and get wealthy off of this human genius that's been gifted to me. And sort of our barometer for our, global tribe is like, are you still in that place where you want to hoard your patent your intelligence, have intellectual properties, or are you willing to share them with everybody? Because it's a good barometer for where your consciousness is at, because the future is not about hoarding. It's about, cooperation and cultivation, and everybody, we're all for one and one for all. It's like the Musketeers is where we're going.
And one of the things I think about a lot, there's no way we're going to move forward with sweatshops and, people having to go to oppressive, basically slave labor jobs every day. Even somebody who's got to be out pounding nails all day. I mean, eventually that wears you out. And it's so exciting to see this is just the beginning. Look at this. It's just the beginning. I mean, what's going to come after this, I'm sure, will be amazing.
And we have conversations all the time, or come out of conversations or meetings where we're like, don't you feel like Steve Jobs in a garage right now? Like everybody outside of your garage has no clue what you're doing, and or if they do, they have a bunch of comments about how what you're doing is impossible and you're wasting your time and are you getting paid for that yet and all this stuff. But we're in the garage going, oh my God, we're making a freaking computer right now. It isn't the size of the house.
I knew there was a reason I grew up in Ada, Michigan, where Amway was. I actually worked for them when I was like 16 years old, and they started in a garage. Now they're worth billions. Anyway, go ahead and give us the rest of your presentation, and then.
Yeah, I mean, just to wrap up, I just would like to say that anyone who would like to join this movement, they're more than welcome. We're very excited to be doing this, and the more people who can join us, the better. So yeah. Absolutely.
Edgar, do you have some websites you want to share?
Right now we're on the in the middle of finishing up our website. So as soon as they're ready, I'll be sure to let you guys know what they are. We're gonna kick off with the Kickstarter campaign just to try to get a little bit more funds there. But as soon as I know, as soon as I have something solid, I'll let you guys know that for sure.
Fernando, before we jump into your stuff, Dave, if he's listening, might have some thoughts on concrete.
Now we'll hear from Paco too. He's been so quiet.
I know.
Dave's picked somebody up in there. He's always got interesting travelers coming and going in there. What's going on, Dave?
Dave, do you have any thoughts about concrete alternatives with the presentation that we just had? He's
you can hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I mean, it's very good. Isn't that mouth-watering stuff we've just seen there? I mean, wow, it's a privilege to everyone here to be able to see that for the first time. It's new stuff for us, and we follow 3D printing a lot, and I love the fact that it shows and demonstrates that biomimicry, making stuff without waste. And this is the thing that Vossa was saying earlier. We're copying nature for once, as we're from a throwaway society. And throwaway society's gone, but we're living it now, and we're having to, we're making plastic bottles full of the plastic that the machines can't cut down. So we're repurposing throwaway society. Now we've got a machine that comes out that's not throwing any waste out. It's actually building a house. And basically, what we've had as problems with the 3D printer in our 3D printing group is you find that Voss in Sweden is burning his heads out. Now, they cost about $75 or euros or whatever, and the machine only costs about 500 to build your own machine. This is like a big percentage loss every time you break a head. Now, what I like about these machines is the head will not be pro rata priced at, say, let's say 8% of the whole machine. If you burn out a head, you go and replace another one, you'll have them on standby. I can imagine that on a construction site. So I think this has got a very big future. I don't know if it's got a future in these hills here in Peru, but however, I could see certainly on a low line, an estate, this could have a mileage to build circular houses, and then those weaved structures that you saw that machine spitting out, I thought they were fantastic, because one of the things Vossa and I have been always discussing is, let's get out these boxes, let's get away from these boxes that we live in, let's get into these energetic vehicles, use the house as a vehicle that energizes you, and use some of these materials that are disruptive on your body. Concrete is not a pleasant magnetron on your body. So let's get into hemp. Let's get into these new materials. Here we have mud in Peru, and the mud is energetic. You cover it on your face. You add lime to it. You add rice husk to it. The things that you throw away, it's all free. So now we're living from a waste throwaway society. We're picking the throwaway stuff and putting it in the mix. And it's very interesting to see that this machine could, or these machines could accommodate those. My final point on the whole thing is I'd just like to ask Elke if he knows about the university, the 3D printing on the banks at I think it's Rotterdam in Holland. I wonder if he knows anything about that, because that's an extremely interesting project.
I think he's talking to you, Edgar.
No, I'm actually not aware of that. If you could explain.
I was going to ask him the same question, because there seems to be universities popping up all over that are starting to help us in our grassroots movements, get these technologies out to the masses. There's got to be one. I think there's got to be one on the planet already, Dave.
Well, just today, I can say that there's a release of a machine that you can plug into USB, and you put your plastic bottles in there, and it'll spit out a roll of 3D printable material. That's what I've just heard today. So how's about that, Cary?
Very cool. And the University of Kentucky have developed rapid drying concrete specifically for disaster relief situations where we need to build a bridge or a house in 24 hours, and their concrete can dry in a minute. And that's part of what what you're saying. Also, those rapid recycling solutions are also going to be key for what we're doing. So,
cool. Dave, thanks for that input. Let's let Fernando go ahead and carry it away with some of his ideas.
I'm terribly sorry. I'm joined by Felicity and Anderon, and we've got the Light Mandela coming tomorrow. So
nice.
Have a special show. So that's really cool. That we've eventually now we've got the Light Mandela so we can show everybody here how that works. So sorry, I'm just being in between two at the moment, so I couldn't answer you back then.
That's okay.
But I'm attentive now. I'm all attentive now.
I was just saying thanks for your contribution, and we could let Fernando go ahead and kind of take it over.
What we're looking at here are geometry, which is photography of cactus in a particular angle and a particular lighting. In the work that we're doing in Baja California, we are studying the geometry of cactus and how is it that they survive and thrive in extreme climates from cold to extreme heat. And when we look at these shapes, we start seeing that cactus are made up of these different wedges, and they have a system of thorns. And here are some geometric studies of the cactus shape. When I look at this, I'm looking at a neighborhood. This is how I want houses and apartments to look like so they can handle sun from different angles. And this is one simple illustration of that, how many points a particular kind of cactus has. So I started building wedges.
Do you have pictures up, Fernando? We're not seeing. Is that your screen sharing?
That's my screen sharing.
There was a cactus there when you first put it up, and now it's just a white screen.
Yeah.
Maybe I have to go like this. There is I must have pressed, hang on a sec, let me reset it. I think I hit a key that stopped the screen sharing. So let's try this again one more time. I'm going to share my desktop. Can you guys see that?
Yes. Yes, we can see that.
Oh, okay. This is what I was talking about. I'm backing up a little bit. Here is the Cactus Photography. Can you still see that? Yeah, I just wanted to get a confirmation you guys can see the visuals.
Yes, we can see them perfectly now.
So I ask, as a designer, I ask, how is nature divided heat and cold? And why do we have thorns? Is it just for protection? So when Edgar is showing the extrusion nozzle that is able to print in free space, it gives me a solution to these homes I'm looking at building, so I can put the thorn capability. Another thing I looked at is the color of the cactus, the green. So here I am building one vaulted arch for these cactus structures, and it's sitting on a template of the flower of life geometry for those who study sacred geometry. And the way I started out building these models is just for segmented flat shapes, because when I look at cactus here, they're grown, extruded in 3 dimensions. They're not assembled. And that's a huge, huge issue in construction when wanting to build for nature. You cannot extrude a human body or assemble it in parts. It has to be grown, which is an interesting component. These are artwork of what we study as the chakra system, which are the geometries of the energy centers of the body. And there's obviously a corollary between the way they've been illustrated and the way the cactus sit. Think of the footprint of a cactus on the ground. What shape does it make? Especially these barrel cactus. These are crop circles from England showing us the exact same geometries in the shapes, this six-pointed star and the supporting structure of circles. We're used to trusses in buildings having these triangles inside of them. We don't understand how nature builds support system in cells, in honeycombs, in giant termite mounds. What these things you're looking at right now, they are slices of a three-dimensional energy shape. So this is actually a sphere of energy, and we have a slice of it. So I'm learning from our star family of how to do this. So as I go back to my laboratory, I decided to build a dome extruded from the flower of life shape. And this is what you're looking at right here, a 3D model of a 12-pointed dome. And here is just the flower of life without the extrusion so people can see it. This is a shape, a fractal diffuser of heat. It's like a heat radiator. And this is part of what we're going to be using in the walls to diffuse heat when it's 120 degrees outside. Or it's also something you can build into the floor of your house to attract water, just like capillary blood systems that using fractal algorithms attract little droplets of water and moisture to collect at the very end, just like dendrites inside your capillaries, and collect in the center. So in 3D printing, we're able to take a flat slab of concrete and route it out to do this. Suddenly your house has 200% efficiency. It becomes an over-unity structure. And I know a lot of this language is going really fast, but I'm letting people in the audience know we are working at the highest levels of science and physics here. This isn't just a bunch of touchy-feely spiritual woo-woo people. This is fractal cellular assembly, which means that we can understand a little bit better how to use 50% less concrete and have 100% more strength in the support system.
So, Fernando, just to break it down for basic thinking,
it's a fire hose.
But you know what? You're mimicking nature, right? I mean, just to say it really simply, and it's amazing and beautiful what you're doing, and it's just it's so integrated, and it's so.
So when I say
makes so much sense.
On the soft level, I want to build a house that heals your body. That is an entire envelope of language that involves geometry, energy, understanding of nature, understanding of the human body, cells. It's infinite. This is what you would see on an oscilloscope when you measure the energy of a particular house, a particular shape, right? This looks like beautiful artwork, but it actually is the algorithm. In software, you would program this for your 3D printer to generate this shape. And here is what it looks like when you measure it. This is a cymatic image. It shows you the waves of energy in a particular circular space. But we can start being more sophisticated about it. Imagine standing inside of the middle of a dome home, and the way we built the walls creates a particular crystal shape in your body. This is our researcher Emoto's water imprinting configuration. We imprint your body with a particular frequency. All this means is that we have the science know-how right now to build a house that heals your body. And it works with the water that you drink, the water that you use to bathe in, the water that goes into your plants, and the water in your body. How would you like to live in a house that has this energetic footprint? Wouldn't that be cool just to meditate in the middle of your dome and have that be what's happening in your body? Doesn't it just look beautiful, by the way?
Yeah.
Yeah? This is the language of this breakaway society that we are wanting to start. And it's only going to be possible by tools like 3D printing that lets us experiment. This is a planned view, which means it's like from the top down of the footprint of the dome in red and the flower of life. So we can see that it correlates perfectly with what nature is teaching us. What are the correct angles for a structure that'll resonate, that'll interact with your body? Just like if you lived inside a tree or lived inside a honeycomb, or you're actually standing in the middle of a forest. And I know it's a long stretch just from looking at this. So this is photography from my Haya project, which stands for Healing Art Installation as Home, or Home Art Installation as Healing. When you look at these, wouldn't it be interesting to have a condominium off the ground that is protected? Do you think a thief could get into your house? Do you think cell phone tower signals can get into your house? Hell no. When I look at this, I visualize the fields of energy around it. Because as a healer, I know you have to look at the physical and the unseen both. And Cami, I know I'm speaking your language. So here's other architects' experiments in using architecture based on cactus. And I know Edgar and Paco, when you see this, I go, wow, we can print this. And I know we can. It took a lot of money to make these structures by hand. Here's that geometry I showed you before, and on the left side, I start putting it all together, the shape and the energy toroid fields.
Can we talk about that for a second? Because you threw the word over unity out there, which, for those of us who are following the free energy world and all the quantum world in general, that's a very exciting concept. But for people who are maybe just sort of new to things and awakening and still haven't dipped their hands in all the different avenues we have, can we talk about what it means to have an environment that is feeding your energy back? It's
sure,
like a planet
estimate the efficiency of a home. We have this vocabulary that they call LEED, L-E-E-D, the R values of the wall thickness. When you go to Home Depot and buy insulation for your house, they give you the rating of how efficient it is at isolating your interior from your exterior. When you have insulation that eventually becomes what we would consider superconductive, that means it could be 40 below outside your house, and inside it can be room temperature because you did something very special to the shape of the house and the insulation without any heating. Imagine if your body heat is what was the thermostat for your house, meaning the temperature that your own body puts out should be enough temperature to heat a superconductive room. How is that for just one statement?
And that's just one little aspect. You just tweak one little thing, but we're talking about tweaking like 1,000 things. That's what gets me so excited. It's like just it's exciting.
This isn't one thing working together. It is a concert. It is an orchestra of design. But we still haven't even turned on the electricity. We're not burning any coal. I haven't done anything yet other than the shape of the house and what it's made out of. That's all the two variables I'm playing with. And that was not possible before without 3D printing. Because that means inside the walls, I have to build capillaries, meaning little channels for heat and cold to dissipate, for the house to be able to breathe like a lung, from taking air from outside, just like your body does, and bring it into your lungs and filtering it from dust and ionizing the air, just like right now, we have to buy air conditioners, we have to buy air ionizers, we have to buy air filtering. All of that can be had for frickin' free. Can we see this?
So basically that thing you feel when you step on the beach where it just feels all good all the time, that could be like your house every single day.
That could be your house because termite mounds breathe. They don't just bring in heat, and our intuition, because we have limited knowledge, we think that it just has holes where air comes in and the heat rises to the top and it keeps itself cool. That is not what is happening in a termite mound. It is breathing like a lung, and it has capillaries.
Yeah. I've helped build straw bale houses and cob houses and done earth plasters and earth floors. And being inside those houses to me is heaven. I mean, when I dream of being in a house, I dream of being in a house that's built out of natural materials. It's breathable. It naturally, the temperature is variable naturally. And it's such an amazing feeling. It's like coming to life instead of being just hammered by a house that's so out of sync with, just with the life force, like most of our modern houses are, these square boxes made out of, kind of dense materials that don't breathe and all of that kind of thing. So,
well, and Dave can speak to this directly because he went from living in, he's still living in a house structure, an old paradigm house structure, but he's out in the jungle all the time and living in nature and working to bring nature back into the environment. And feel free to jump in at any time, Dave, but I know you can speak to this.
I just need to stress a point that I'm very thankful because Vossa now showing these pictures of the cactus. And one of the things he told me, I've been here 11 months now in Peru, and he said when you venture on into the jungle, please just look around you, and instead of just looking, oh, isn't that pretty and all that, and well, what's that plant and what's that plant? He said, have a look at something that exists and lives and thrives, in actual fact, automatically, naturally. And do you know, it's changed my whole idea when I go into the jungle. I see, instead of looking at a plant, I see the sacred geometry he's talking about. And when you see, when Rebecca and I went into the jungle 6 days ago, we were seeing some fantastic sacred geometry that we've never seen before. And what Vossa was trying to get across to us is if you can see that survives and why it survives from the very sacred geometry structure that it's made from. So therefore bring that back and use that as a model to be able to create your own design for wherever you are. In other words, it's not contained to just one area of what, thrives in that area. What really does survive in your area. And I think that's great because every time I go out to the jungle, I go to different aspects of the jungle and everywhere is different. Something else thrives 6 miles that way, then something else 6 miles that way. And that's been the greatest tip. Thank you, Vossa. You're giving me a lot of work to do now.
Well, and isn't that what the greatest thinkers on the planet are doing these days, is paying attention to how the creator did it and just figuring out how do we replicate that?
Yes, we still have science that does not recognize the unseen very well, and also does not recognize the geometric proportions as what invites energy to flow. Because the way we see it in the world of healing, there's chaotic energy and then there is coherent energy that's in order, it's organized. How do we create a house that is a filter that aligns energy? So when you're in your bathroom, you're in your bedroom, each room has its own tuning, which also affects the level of positive and negative ions in the air. Everything I'm saying here has been proven scientifically. I'm not inventing anything new. What we're doing as artists is integrating the knowledge just like nature has done. So when I look at the way a tree trunk is able to bring up water from the earth, collect it from moisture from the air, and concentrate it and raise it up, if we were to build machines to do that, it would be a factory of machines doing what one little tree can do, just because of the geometry of the way it works. What I'm showing you is we can start off with raw land, and here I am examining, and study each of those bushes of where I'm standing has a grouping of different herbs. In these pictures I'm showing in Baja California, you're looking at a collection of wild oregano, sage, a particular kind of pine needle, and a particular kind of cactus. And there's like 5 or 6 plants that nature makes copies of over and over and over in the desert. And as you move further down south, those copies become rainforest. What exactly is nature doing is what I'm asking. Here's a little bit closer. You can see that there's these bushes that are dark and light. There's a particular spacing between them. Nature tells you exactly how many living things it can handle per square foot in the desert. And if you surpass that, you won't be sustainable. And it's the exact same thing in the desert and the exact same thing in the North Pole. We're not paying attention. When you buy it, and the reason why I'm bringing all of this up is that we can no longer just go to a catalog, pick out a house and say, build that thing, that box, and put it on this piece of property if you haven't studied the living cycle of where you're going to live. So when I start building these homes, they're based on principles that allow your body to thrive. This isn't about surviving. It's about creating a house where you're going to be younger. You're going to be more energized. You're going to have more dreams. Here's a cross section of one of these cactus.
So, Fernando, could I jump in a second?
No, go ahead.
You know what you're talking about, and we talk a lot about bringing the masculine and feminine together. And what you're talking about is kind of a feminine way of being in the world, of looking at the world and blending with it or participating in it instead of going out and conquering it. So it's really a nice blending, I think, of the masculine and feminine energies.
Completely. Because we will have a balance of straight lines and curves. We're going to have a balance of yin and yang energy.
Yes, that's what I was going to say. It's not just the masculine and feminine, it's all the energies. Like all the universal laws and all the polarities and everything that we're constantly talking about, the cause and effect. I mean, it's just, we understand thriving now. So why not start applying it? Why not start putting it into our everyday?
Yes, it's a total paradigm shift from how we've been living for a while.
It is miles and miles and quantum units ahead of what's being taught right now. This is a cross-section of one of these barrel cactus. What do you see of the color? What's happening in the color? Green. It's going from dark green to light green, right? I'm just giving you one dimension of this study. I asked myself, why did nature use green, and why isn't it green just on the surface and white on the inside? What I found out is that particular kind of green, that particular color of green, is the optimum color filter for heat and cold in that region. And this changes from different parts of the world. So why do we have a house that the outside is colored that shade of green in the shell? You notice this has a hard shell on the outside. And then as we go into the concrete, it should be a gradient of green instead of just gray concrete. So what this is going to do is give you the optimal insulation value for solar units. And you can put that in mathematics if those who really want to do it. X number of inches into the wall, it should be this level of green. And suddenly you've cut your housing cooling costs by I don't know how much yet. We're going to study it.
Well, not to mention how much better it looks than just that gray old life force stealing concrete.
Yeah. So I'm going to switch it up a bit here. Can you still see this?
Yes.
This is cement countertops, concrete countertops. Can you still see it?
Yes, it's beautiful.
And not everything has to be gray. What I'm saying is this is just the palette of shapes, of geometries, and then you can start getting real creative with the finishing. You can make it look like glass, or if you want to go back and make it look like concrete or wood. But we're going to show you that instead of having to budget for all of your appliances like you used to and have to find a way to ship them and assemble them, we can print your appliances and print your furniture and print your interior, and all you have to bring is the accessories that go on your stove or your cabinetry. This is an integration of recycled glass into cement, and be able to create things like this, where we have appliances that grow food. Like this is one vision of it. You have to go to a store to go buy that appliance. We're saying, screw it. We're going to put our food every frickin' where. What do you guys think of this?
I I love that. I love the idea of community gardens. I love the idea of having, gardens instead of lawns. I love the idea of having herbal walls. I love the idea of having fruit walls. I mean, Dave and the design for the original Mission Impossible Peru project was all, an edible office. I mean, it's just, that is the future. And people are constantly like, well, how are we going to implement all of these things? It's going to take forever. And you just answered how it's going to happen.
Absolutely fantastic.
Yes.
I'm ready to live in villages that are built like this.
Oh, yeah. One of the myths that we want to bust is that sustainability has to be ugly or it has to be rustic. We're saying it could be modern and elegant if you want to go in that direction. Because I like both. I like rustic as much as I like modern. This is an interior of a spa that can be 3D printed and filled with water. What do you think?
Wow, that is fantastic. It reminds me, somebody just shared a house that was built in the shape of a snail shell, and the inside of it had all the curves. It was really beautiful. This reminds me.
And think about when you're a child and you picturing yourself, being the snail or, being the little thing that could fit inside those structures. Just looking at the pictures makes me feel better. I can imagine being there would be
You like that?
Yeah.
And Edgar, I want to hear from Edgar. What does he think when I'm showing these geometries?
Oh man, I think that's totally doable, man. I think those are the buildings of the future, man. I really think so.
They totally are. Can you feel just the difference in your energy field just from looking at that image?
Oh yeah. So are you guys sparking off of each other with the idea that you could do this with this kind of 3D printing and
we just met last
3D
week
printing can do?
And we're accelerating this relationship. I'm going to fly my butt to New Mexico and have a team brainstorming meeting, put all our talents together.
Awesome.
So yes, we're jumping on this. These are the extrusions we were talking about. They're previously done in wood, and now we can do with a free flowing nozzle that can go in through 3-dimensional space. What do you guys think of this, by the way?
Down to the elephant. I love it.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's just awesome. I want to meditate.
I love it.
We want to put eco real estate and bioarchitecture as the new luxury product on the market. We're going to show sustainability is viable. If you have a $10,000 budget, we can do one kind of thing. If you have a $500,000 budget, we can do a different thing. But both houses can have healing and sustainability.
This is very, that last picture looked very similar to my, dream house design. I call it the snowflake because it's a snowflake in the overall picture, but it's got grass floors. It's totally indoor, outdoor, design.
Yes. So that's some of the eye candy I want to share.
That was great. And I know Dave has some actual practical things that he's been working on to show us. He's been building some cool stuff down there.
Maybe we should get a quick, Paco, do you want to say anything? We've kind of been letting you hang out on the fringes here. You're the one that brought this together. Do you have any thoughts, Paco? Yeah, there you go.
Hi. Yes. But in this moment, my connection is very bad. Please repeat with me the question.
Okay, I just said you're the one who brought this together, and we thank you so much for doing it. And I just wondered if you had any comments about what we've been talking about.
Okay, the most important in this moment is integrate more people for the projects. In Mexico, I released one big project, and this project is contained in one structure in Secopla. It's one organization for release many projects and import many energies. And in these projects, in Fernando projects and Edgar projects, it's important to integrate more people and integrate more technologies. And the version is the first version for this project's integration. And it's important to release many application for building many communities and talking with more people, because in these developments of the new cities, it's important the conscience. Many things in the release and production the best. Please, it's important for me talking in Spanish. Is possible?
Nomás tienes que ir lento para poder traducir. Dame pedacitos.
Ok, que ahorita es un gusto el estar con todos ustedes y que la verdad es que
It's a
sí
pleasure
es
to be with everybody right now.
okay. Es muy importante saber que hay muchos grupos aquí en México.
It's very important to note that there are many groups here in Mexico.
Ahorita aquí en el estado de Chihuahua estamos integrando universidades de amigos
Right now in the state of Chihuahua, we're integrating universities which are now friends with us
y que están trabajando ya dando cursos masivos a la gente en lo que es bioclimática.
They're already putting out workshops and courses that are going massive in climatology.
Y desde hace ya un tiempo estamos gestionando dar clases en esas universidades.
That we've been working for quite some time now to be able to give classes in those universities.
Y ahorita hemos recibido una muy buena respuesta de integrarse bastante comunidad.
And right now we've received a very good response to establish an integrated community.
Para poder realizar proyectos en conjunto.
So we can realize projects together in conjunction with them.
Aquí es punta de base en Latinoamérica porque es el único lugar
Here it's a basic point in Latin America because it's a place
donde ya hay universidades y ya hay bastantes proyectos de gente aterrizados.
that already have enough universities and enough people already landing their projects.
En el proyecto de las casas, algo importante a saber
In the project relationship and in relation to the house, there's something important to know.
es que están amigos como Cosme Espinosa
We have friends like Cosme Espinosa,
y estamos buscando integrar a científicos de México
and we're looking to integrate scientists from Mexico
que están trabajando con la energía más eficiente,
which are working with the most efficient energy,
como lo vienen a hacer la energía replicando al cuerpo humano.
just like we are bringing the energy from the human body.
Esto es con enzimas y material biológico.
These are with enzymes and ¿cuál fue la segunda?
Material biológico.
And
Material
biological material.
Y parte de la idea de integrar esto es meter esto en las bioconstrucciones.
And part of our integration is to bring this approach into bioconstruction.
Para, como tú dices, Fernando, hacer de la casa un ser viviente.
Just like I've mentioned before, making your house a living being.
Y esto lo vemos muy importante y estamos buscando hacer un centro de investigación en Delicia, Chihuahua.
This has become very important, and we are now planning on building a center of study in Delicias, Chihuahua.
Para poder realizar aquí, si se hace lo de la máquina, 3D printer,
So we can investigate if we're going to realize the 3D printer machine here
y otras tecnologías que hemos importado de algunos amigos que han participado en videoconferencias.
and other technologies that we have imported from friends who've participated in our past video conferences.
Como lo viene a hacer nuestro estimado amigo Dan Winter,
Just like our esteemed friend Dan Winters, Professor Dan Winter,
y algunos otros amigos del grupo GTEL, Generadores de Energía Libre.
and from other members of our group, GTEL, who are builders of free energy technologies.
Yeah, that is exciting, Paco. I know that you have, that is your major effort, is to do a lot of this coordinating, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And it's fantastic, the picture you're painting of what you guys are working on in Mexico. Excellent.
I wanted to bring up a point that in Mexico, like in many other developing nations, we have the capability of building structures without as much issues with building codes, city governments, banking restrictions. And that's a shame because we want to do this in our home country, the United States. And right now, the United States is the most difficult place to be sustainable in the world.
That's why we're all leaving.
I was wondering, we didn't really talk about dollars and cents, but I was wondering how much the 3D printer that Edgar showed us would cost to build.
Oh, well, we have calculated that the first machine will cost us about $70,000. This is counting every single aspect of it, from calibration to building materials and everything. So we think that after that, each machine will cost around $20,000 to build.
In the bigger picture, that's not much, really.
That is nothing right now. Just to assemble the construction materials for a traditional home, you're talking about a good $200,000-$300,000 for your excavators, your sprayers,
So then how much would it cost for materials to build a home? Maybe just a general ballpark,
Yeah, if you could use a portion of the dirt under your feet in your own property, you could be talking about $2,000 or $3,000 worth of materials. And it could be even lower. You could get that down to $500 worth of materials for a one-room house. What do you think, Edgar?
Yeah, and if you're talking about recycled materials, there's all kinds of different ways that you can do 3D printing that the old paradigm, you can't even touch it.
Yeah, look at what Cal Earth can do for one 400 square foot dome. They're eco domes. They can do the materials. You're probably talking about $150 worth of Portland cement.
Yeah, I was going to mention that the Chinese companies that are in this industry, they're actually using recycled materials that are like wastes from the actual construction companies. So they use those wastes and they recycle them. And I think each of their houses costs about, I think I read about anywhere between $3,000 to $5,000 to build pretty decent sized house. So
and then they're also cleaning up the waste while they're doing it, which is invaluable. People are just like, how is this going to get done? And this is how it's going to get done, is while we're cleaning up the old to build the new. It's all unfolding perfectly. So much,
absolutely,
so much fun to watch.
Yeah,
Dave, did you go ahead? Sorry.
No, and I was just going to say that you have to remember that with now your costs just are reduced to the material costs basically.
Yeah.
The machine takes care of everything. So,
Dave, did you want to jump in with something?
I just want to add a point to that. The traditional way we estimate costs in a building project don't take into account the more Ubuntu approach to sustainability, which means that we help us build our house and we'll help you build your house. There's no reason why the construction people working on homes, we can't get the same team to build them a house, and for every house that we can sell to people that do have the money, we can build another house for somebody else that can't afford it. And this is part of more of that open sourcing, not only of the know-how, but of sharing of the capabilities. Because we're not going to be able to go directly up against multi-million-dollar conglomerates. We are the grassroots efforts of sustainability.
And that's right. Also, one of the big things that one needs to look around is what is the raw material nearest to you. We've got these beautiful rivers here, Sometimes they're beautiful, sometimes they're a bit treacherous. And they drop off a fresh supply of material, whether it be clay, the red mud, you know, the one I was talking about before, that's beautiful. And this is a fresh supply every day, so you can use that. There's nobody going to say, even the governments today will not stop you using that. Then you go to fine sand, and then you've got another supply of rocks dumped on the top of that, and you can sift them out, and you can make them any size you want. Then you have the bigger boulders and stuff like that. So you also have a main stream of trees coming down the river that need to be pulled out, arrested off the river, and you can use those as well. Now you're talking about the houses being free, because you're providing if your village is self-sustainable, you can bring that stuff into workshops that make the village self-sustainable, gives employment to everybody. And what we've done here in Peru is we've started with the fact that waste, whether it be plastic, steel, or human waste, animal waste, can be recycled and turned into money, which can be turned into food. You don't need to go to the jungle and wreck it. You can go to the jungle and repair it, and even own certain sections and be guardians of that. So we're talking about the construction element of the 3D printing aspect of it. If you can do multi-materials, you're onto a winner here, and it definitely needs that system needs replicating. Never mind around the globe, you know.
That was a great point, Dave. That we build into the plan the considerations for processing waste and gray water and black water. Because if we can fractalize that issue, we can have groupings of 4 to 6 houses share a constructed wetland filter to reclaim water from all of your waste. And 3D printing is going to definitely help with that, because we can build the containment basins to go have water go through its different processes, and also technology to be able to reclaim gases from your waste, biological waste from your house, and composting between 2 or 3 houses. Just with compost piles, we can heat water. Right, Dave?
You know, I spent a number of years out in Colorado, Southwest Colorado and Arizona, or Colorado and New Mexico, working on straw bale, light straw clay houses. And we had a permaculturist in the area who was amazing. He had developed this system where you would just put, he used these big pipes that were for, like, I think industrial sewage was what they were made for, but they had holes in them. So he put the pipes underground, you know, just below ground level, filled them with gravel and sand, and then he'd run the gray water from the house into that, and then planted an orchard over it. And
oh, yes,
you think about just simple ways to kind of circulate the whole thing, like you said, fractalizing and moving everything back.
And that's just a fancy word for divide and master. I don't like the word conquer. Divide and master. The ability for us to take very dry spaces in the middle of the desert and turn them to oasis is very real right now. We just have to be smart about the technologies of combining permaculture with geometry and understanding that the ground can be healed just like we heal a human body.
Oh, yeah, they're doing it with trees. I saw some things on Israel just planting trees and completely replenishing the deserts. So, yeah, it's close. I mean, just more.
Now, to bring in a little bit more of the consciousness aspect to what we're doing, we now can plan a house that not only gives you the basics of food and water and energy, but can start addressing a house that can reduce your stress, that can inspire creativity in your children, that can support the romantic aspect of your relationship for longer-term marriages. All those things can be considerations for the architect. Isn't this kind of a fun place we want to be in?
Yes, absolutely. Paco just requested to open up the discussion to permaculture a little bit. Sounds like he has something to contribute in that area.
Yes. It's important. I need translation for Fernando. ¿Es possible, Fernando?
Sí.
Hace un tiempo nuestro amigo Juan Carlos López y un servidor.
Some time ago, our friend Juan Carlos Lopez, who is a contributor, And I'm sorry, and myself.
Empezamos a realizar estudios en cuanto a la energía de la Tierra.
We began to realize a series of studies regarding the energy from the ground.
Con equipos de gigahertz y Rohm Electronics.
Utilizing equipment from gigahertz and Rohm Electronics.
Donde lo que nosotros nos enfocamos es a la cuestión de la radiación electromagnética.
And our point of focus was the radiation of electromagnetic energies.
Y empezamos a estudiar un tema muy escabroso que es la acupuntura de la Tierra.
And we started studying a term that's a little bit more advanced, which is the acupuncture of the land.
Y es importante el saber que la acupuntura de la Tierra ayuda a que si la Tierra está bien reestructurada en cuanto a su energía, puede producir muchísimo más.
It's important to note that through this process of acupuncture, if used correctly, we can have land be able to produce even more.
En este caso, nosotros con los equipos de gigahertz hemos medido radiaciones que están afectando a los primordiales de la Tierra.
With this gigahertz equipment, we've been able to measure energies that's affecting the primordial aspects of the land.
Estos son las abejas que están parando su proceso de lo que viene a ser la polinización.
This is especially the process of bees and pollinization. This is what's being interrupted.
Would you, Fernando, share with him that we work with Patty Greer, who's worked with Sacha Stone quite a bit. She is the one who's documented a lot on crop circles. And she's worked with a researcher actually who just passed recently. But what she has figured out and what they figured out is that one of the things crop circles are trying to transmit to us is that by increasing our electromagnetics that come from the earth, we can multiply our food supplies by, 50 to 100%.
Yes.
I think you got that.
Huh?
Yeah, I think you understood what you said.
Yeah, you got it. Right.
And imagine, when I bring up crop circles with the design of the houses we're doing, most people have no understanding of how this is a whole new understanding of science.
I think it's funny that he brought up the acupuncture aspect of it, like acupuncturing with the earth, because Patty also believes that one of the purposes crop circles serve is to help release energy through acupuncture in the fields.
Well, this is an entire field of study for us, is how do we heal the land where we build houses, and how do we create oasis situations where the land itself, or you might want to expand that to nature around the land, knows that you're going to have humans living in this space. And that's going to require certain levels of moisture, rain, and productivity from your crops. Like here in Mexico or in raw land, most people just show up with an excavator and completely peel off an entire layer of property. What we're saying is you've just created a wound. You've cut open, like taking a knife to your skin and peeled it open and think you can live in that. You've just created a dying situation, which is what our cities have done, right? So this healing aspect is important because we have technology that would attract rain clouds to your garden, that would start tuning the earth so the plants growing in that earth are more nutritious. And I think this is definitely where we need to be. And this is kind of high-tech, low-tech, both.
Yeah. And until we learn how to do that with our own human technology, our own biotech that we've come here with, which only, a very small percentage of energy masters have figured out how to attract weather without, technology. But until we do that, we show them what's possible with technology.
And part of what we can do with the 3D print equipment is go to a property and print a particular symbol, a particular geometry that becomes a permanent attractor of health and wellness. This is being done in, when I was in England, seeing the stones at Avonbury or Stonehenge, same thing. It's just particular geometries.
Absolutely.
And it's going to be very interesting for us. I've seen it at a small scale. Now we get to do it in an entire neighborhood.
It's clear they've been using the sacred geometry and the ley lines and the energy grids and all of that stuff against us for a very long time. It's time to turn the tables.
And Edgar, I noticed behind your wall there the beautiful mandalas. Yeah. I know you're on board with us.
Yeah, I do love my geometry.
Welcome to the tribe. Paco has something to say about some electrical tests that are in Peru. Testing the land of the leaves or the fruit in the leaves. Dave's gonna love this because he hangs out with somebody who's all about the plants down there.
I think is that Dave? I think.
Yeah, I mean it's one of. Sorry. Yeah. Yes, I can say one.
Well, Paco has.
Can you hear me, by the way?
Yeah, we can hear you. Paco has something to say about testing the plants, and then I know you're going to want to jump in on that because you're spending a lot of time getting to know the plants and the people who love them down there.
Paco.
Ok. Sí, escucho. Mira, aquí la cuestión, Fernando. Nosotros, pues como somos un equipo en Latinoamérica y está en Perú, Silvana Ocas,
Because we're a team in Latin America, especially Peru and Mexico.
Y tenemos una amiga que es la tecnóloga médica Silvana Ocas.
And we have a medical technologist, her name is Silvana Ocas.
Ella vive en Perú.
She lives in Peru.
Y ellos recibieron una formación básica de Joan Carles.
And they've received a basic formation from Juan Carlos in Spain.
Para lo que tenía que ver con el campo y la radiación electromagnética.
For what is related to the radiation, electromagnetic radiation.
Es importante saber que sí hay gente que ya está en Sudamérica que puede contactar a nuestro amigo Dave.
It's important for us to know that there are people already in South America that can contact Dave.
Y otra de las cuestiones que hemos estado viendo es precisamente la modificación de la rejilla energética del planeta. Esto es en cuanto a las líneas Harman y Curry.
Another thing that we are looking at is the restructuring of the magnetic grid of the Earth, specifically with energies Harman and Curry. Curry?
Yes.
Right?
Y esto en pláticas que hemos tenido lo queremos integrar dentro de la construcción para que la carga de la energía de la Tierra cargue a la casa como un ser viviente.
And these are the conversations we're having in respect to construction. So the energy charge in your homes is like a living being.
Y esto ayudaría a mejores estados de confort para las gentes que viven dentro de ahí o vivirán dentro de.
And this would help establish higher levels of comfort for the people living inside those homes.
And higher levels of consciousness, I'd say.
You're right. And, just to add more to what Paco's saying, that we are the bridge to take the beautiful, flowery spiritual language that we use and connect it to the engineering, scientific side. That buffer is so important. So when we say something like a healing home, most people think that they have to go to a spa and pay a lot of money when in fact that technology is available to you just with more consideration, right? I see that when I buy a home in the future, and I've mentioned this before, Cami, in other interviews, what does your body react when you step into a structure? Could we measure your heart rate and your blood pressure and your stress levels and see immediately if your body is standing in a place that's good for it, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, Cary actually has a heart monitor device that I gave her from the Heart Math Institute where you can tell when you're in coherence or not. And I guarantee just changing environments would set that thing on and off.
So imagine working that process with your real estate agent. You bring your gigahertz equipment in your hand and measure the radiation levels. You're going to know if you want to live in that cancer box for your children or not, if you're going to have birth defects living in that house. And it will no longer be acceptable to buy a home that is in a cancer pocket.
Well, and not to mention just the houses, but the land itself. I mean, Dave has been measuring the ground down there in Peru, and there's, places that need healing on the earth, like you said, and, we don't want to be constructing on top of them before they're healed.
Right, and people are, just like they have stringent requirements for claiming that you're organic, we're also going to have that kind of requirements for biological homes, which I believe will be the new luxury that will be available to a greater population.
Nice. Let's let Dave go ahead and jump in and tell us his story from down there.
Well, I mean, I need to do some more work on it, of course, and I need to involve people like Paco, Elke, and Vossa on it. But one of the reasons I met Vossa was because I was finding out that there was electricity coming out of salt water. And I was getting chemical reaction. The basic science is very simple. There's copper and galvanized or chrome or something like that. Zinc nodes into any item like salt water, pond water or rainwater. And I was getting electricity and I was reading it. And then I extended this and I then lit a light. And of course I've been in Peru, so I stuck it in leaves. I stuck it in the branches of trees and I got lights again, and I stuck it in fruit and I got lights again, and hey, I'm making lights out of fruit.
And Dave, along those lines, I know that there's electricity in the deserts, that we can build a home on top of the desert and the electrons want to flow from those curves in that dome and create a vortex on the top, and I bet you that's going to be a free energy generator.
Absolutely. And you see, the thing is, there's not much that doesn't emit electricity. Now, the people here, around here, laugh at me for not wearing shoes, you see. And because we've got the school here now, all the kids come round and they all say, why haven't you got any shoes? Well, I always say, well, I can't afford any. But in actual fact, I tell them the truth just after, and I say, well, in actual fact, I don't want to wear any while you've got these beautiful muddy streets, because, and I take them out. And these young kids come out with me, and I stick the nodes into the ground, and I say, look, electricity. And then I said, right, now you, and the 4-year-old, 8-year-old child, holding these nodes, and he reads his own electric pulse. Okay, it's a chemical reaction. It's not quite accurate, but anyway, that's splitting hairs. In actual fact, it's the reaction from the electricity coming out of the young man's hands that I'm picking up. And I say, well, that's why I don't wear shoes, because I'm allowing all my negative energy to release. And what we're doing, we've got an expert coming to see us, and he's going to be building a replica adobe. Fernando, are you, and Paco, are you familiar with the words adobe? You know, the homemade bricks here that they use out of the mud and the cement.
What do you think our country's made out of?
Anyway, well, I want to stick some nodes in these, and I want to know how much electricity, so that when you make a bed spread out of one, that you lie on that and you share and ground the same electricity. That's what we're trying to achieve here, that we lie on that ground, we separate the water so you don't get the humidity that's spread between, but you do take the energy from the ground, and the trees, don't forget the soil has the biggest energy of all. And where the trees come.
That's a completely new show for us, the entire healing aspect of sustainable design. And by the way, language here, there's a fine transition occurring. It's an alchemy of words. Instead of saying I need to turn on a light bulb, just say I need illumination somewhere. If I need to run my heat or air conditioner, turn it into we just need heat and cold channeled in particular areas of your house. Then you get rid of the appliance altogether.
Yep, limitless thinking. It's a new way of doing things.
Yeah, you guys, I'm getting really excited. I mean, this show turned out to be way more than I had ever imagined in the first place. And we would
normally charge about $100 for a workshop to what we're sharing here.
But you know what? I think I'm going to take
for
this
our audience. This is so people start valuing what we're sharing.
Yes.
As soon as this video gets rendered, I'm going to take it and share it with the funding people because they are going to flip their lids when they see it. I mean, I think it's going to go out to Swiss Indo and the Chinese elders and whoever else we've got access to.
And what we're saying as a team, all of us, as soon as we print one healing home, it'll be a complete shift of reality for the world. That's how powerful we think this is.
Yes. And you know what? I mean, this is absolutely a brilliant, not only vision for the future, but it's a demonstration that the technology exists, that it's here, that we're ready to go.
Right.
Yep. If we build it, they will come.
Yes.
Well, I know
and then that will appear.
I'm printing the first home for me. I don't have to convince
I'm
anybody.
living with you then.
Anybody wants to come and see these homes, for those of us who are all working on it, everybody on this team wants one of these kinds of technologies to live in. Believe me, I know there are millions of people right now that would love to have what we're putting on the table.
Absolutely. And the ones that don't know that they love it yet will soon love it when they figure it out.
And take a Google Earth picture of one of our homes sitting on top of the Flower of Life in the middle of the Baja Desert. It's game over for us.
Totally.
Yeah.
Before we wrap it up, I wanted to see the wheel, Dave. Dave's been building some fun, sustainable tech down there. What's going on with the wheel? You're muted, babe.
Oh, I'm sorry about that. Sorry, I'm so excited then. And no, just before I show you the wheel, what the hell's that? I hear you say. I want to share with some of the people we've got here who've got the kids' school here. Now, don't forget they're quite poor around here, and they haven't got a school, and we're doing all kinds of things here. And we're basing it a little bit on Fernando Vossa's. Please, Fernando, please give me the link to showing us how the school, what's it called, Star Kids or something like that?
The Light Comet Star Kids Camp.
The what, sorry?
Light Comet Star Kids Camp. Light
Comet Star Kids Camp, okay.
It stands for Light Conscious Media Technology.
Okay, because we're going to be doing that class right here, and we're going to be filming it, and we're going to send it right back to you, Mr. Vossa, because
we do a link where you can download the entire curriculum, pictures, and artwork.
We're going to do one of those schools here, and we're going to get the kids are really brilliant here. They're making all kinds of stuff, and the talent is immeasurable, and it looks like it's not going to stop either. But anyway, onto the wheel. Sorry about the pop bottle at the top there, but there's a reason for that. But this is the Mike Waters reinvention. He's reinvented the wind industry, and he's also included this as a water vessel. So it's actually the wooden version of a 3D printed version in Sweden. And that's been sent to Vancouver to one of our toolmaker engineers. And Mike Waters is very much active with us on the redesign of this. Now I'm just going to turn it to the side, and you'll see, if I can get it at the right angle, you'll see there's a vehicle hole that is, you might be able to see my finger on that one there. There is about a 15 millimeter by 100 millimeters hole, and they're in spiral form. So when you drop a bucket of water in here, it hits the spiral here, if you can see, and then it has to spin. The water comes out, it makes a bit of a mess, so you have to control that. But there's no limit to this new invention from Mike Waters, because you can use this for air and water, and water compresses about 7...
Dave, I think we're at the end of our time here, so I think we should just say thank you so much, and thank you so much to everyone, and goodbye, and aloha, no goodbyes, and we'll see you all soon. I think we need to do another show.
Well, and also, why don't we follow up with that on Saturday on the Mission Impossible Peru show? For anybody who doesn't know, we're constantly giving updates on all the cool things going on and being implemented, boots on the ground down there. Highly ask anybody to tune in that if they don't understand what's possible, because they're getting their hands dirty down there and figuring it out.
Yeah.
Well, I'd like to see this running Vossa's new home, you see.
Yes.
There you
Oh,
go.
we can.
Cool.
All right. Thanks
Much love,
for-
everybody.
Thank you, guys. We will definitely do a follow-up.
Adios.